What's up, comic book fans? This is Everything Wrong with Avengers Endgame. We're going to cover every single time loop era, characters that survived, characters that lived, all the little freaking anomalies and the time breaches. Oh my gosh, guys, we are going to get into everything. And I wrote a list down just so I wouldn't forget to make sure to cover all these 14 points. It's going to blow your mind. Before we start, this is spoiler alert warning. If you have not seen Endgame, watch my other video, which is the non-spoiler review, or the full spoiler review. But for now, Everything Wrong with Endgame begins. This is comic book artist, writer, and director Greg Weich from BeyondComics.tv, your host. Thank you so much for helping us break over 3 million views to my channel. Very excited about that. Please make sure to follow and subscribe, and let's begin. Number 1. How many people noticed that Loki survived? That's right. Don't forget, when Cap went back, Loki went into the time portal, boom, and escaped from the 2012 movie of Avengers when they went back in time. So that was freaking awesome. So Loki returns, but huge flaw in the movie, that's a time anomaly that was created, a second timeline branched out, because that should have changed the history from 2012 to present. Thereby, all the appearances of Loki would have vanished because now everything got changed. So that's the first massive anomaly that we could discuss in the film. So closing those little time loops and those little problems that they had mentioned are impossible just from that alone. But there's many errors and many different things that I'm going to cover and go over with you. By the way, on a side note, what happened to Hulk's revenge on Thanos? I waited a whole year to see that, and it's not to be found. There's no Hulk exacting revenge. I thought he's going to be all intellectual Hulk and fight using banner science when he fights, staccato style or some Qigong or something kind of interesting. Maybe Hulk became like a master of this. You see Hulk, instead of just wailing away, like some scientific fighting Hulk or whatever. My other kind of thing, this is my next point over here, is that I really thought that maybe they would use, I don't know if you guys saw it in the comics, called Clue, which is Hulk backwards, spelled backwards, Clue. And that's when Hulk becomes so angry and enraged that he becomes this even greater, bigger Hulk. And grows even more, because originally he was gray, that they wrote it into the comics that he turned green, even though that was a printing error originally, but they wrote that into the storyline. And now recently he becomes Clue, which is like this kind of black and red lava-like Hulk that like bursts out with raw energy and anger. So that's one of the big things that I was surprised they kind of missed the boat on over there, is like, what's going on? So, I'm a little disappointed about that and stuff, but I want your opinion, so post it below. Now let's cover the next error over here. Gamora. This is a very important point because they said it's impossible to bring back someone who sacrifices themselves for that soul stone when Black Widow died, right? But yet Gamora died doing the same thing, except she was sacrificed, right? Yet they went back in time and brought past Gamora to present time. So why don't you do that with Black Widow? Hello? If you're going to have this previous version of her existing now, then, go back and save, Black Widow. Why not? What's the problem? You know what I'm saying? Clearly, you can go back and forward in time, which is how they were able to send Captain America back, and then we're going to bring him back, but he chose to stay. That was another huge error right there, because that means that if Captain America chose to stay in the past and marry Agent, what's her name? Carter, not only did he erase the husband and children that she says she married when he went to visit her in the other movie as an old woman who has, unfortunate memory problems and all that stuff. She got I think Alzheimer's or something like that. But here's a perfect example of where he now canceled her life with that other man and those children, and Steve Rogers took over as her new husband. So that again takes the timeline, which is straight, and branches it right out to another timeline. Now there's 2 different timelines. Also, that means that old Cap, or present day Cap, who grew old, was back in the past, right? When was he back in the past? with his frozen self in the water. So that means there were two Caps, one frozen waiting to be found by the Avengers, and then the, present day Cap who went back there. So there's two different Captain Americas that existed in that timeline. So that's another big anomaly that they have, or a paradox, if you will, a time paradox. So I'm surprised that the Russo brothers, who are directors, who delineated certain reasons why they couldn't go back and kill Thanos as a baby and all those things that they mentioned in Back to the Future, and for some reason left these big open gaps. Another issue, again, I wanted to go back on was that, this is kind of a big one over here. Where is Agent Coulson? He survived. We know that he survived. So where is he? Why wasn't he shown in there? If they're going to show Carter, how can they not show Coulson? That was something that I wanted to touch upon. I'm just checking my list over here. Also, if Gamora, was able to, or I should say it like this, Thanos killed Gamora and he killed Vision, right? Not from the Infinity Stones, but he actually killed them. Okay, so explain to me, if they can go back in time and bring back Gamora, why can't they go back in time and bring back Vision? Why wasn't Vision there? Why wasn't he brought back? See, that doesn't make any sense to me either. Same thing like I said about Black Widow. So that's like a big issue too. I also was very angry about them killing Tony Stark. There's no reason to kill Iron Man. None at all. There's absolutely no reason to kill Tony Stark. He succeeded. He had the Iron Man armor to protect him. No reason why they couldn't have had him survive thanks to the armor protecting him. So, very curious to hear your thoughts, your comments about that. Let's go on to the next point. I was mentioning to you guys that once Captain America returned the stones, right, to the past, then why not use that as an excuse to resurrect Black Widow? Because if he's taking the Infinity Stone and he's returning it, that Soul Stone, he's returning it 1 second after it was taken to put everything back in order, supposedly, why not then immediately have Black Widow resurrect and come back to life? Just a thought. That's two different ways they could have brought her back. Either that way, and we would have totally accepted that, or the way I had mentioned earlier, which is to have them just go back to an earlier version of Black Widow and bring her into the present, like they did with Gamora. Okay, let's go to the next one. Nebula immediately broke the timeline and created a paradox simply by having her past self go into the present. So for her, that's her going into the future, which is our present. The moment she did that, she again took the timeline of her growing from this character straight into the present and then branched it off into her leaving her past, which means she would have never grown to the present, making a new timeline or a parallel universe version of the characters. So when she confronts herself and her present self shoots and kills her past self, her evil past self, then technically speaking, this present version of herself would have vanished or would never have been able to kill her past self because it's her past self who grew into her present self in the first place to attempt to kill her. So when she tried to kill her, technically speaking, she should not have been able to kill her past self in the present for one important reason, and that is because she would then not have existed to grow old enough to get to the present to go back and kill herself. Does that make sense? That actually made sense to me. I'm going to say it again in case you got lost, okay? Gamora from the past comes to the present and finds her present self. That means that this Gamora had to grow into the present. But if she left the past and looped past it to get to the present, that means she never grew into this version. So the second she leaves the past to come into the present, her present version should disappear. Because that means she never stayed here to grow into this version. She left that timeline and went here, hence creating a split, You see what I'm saying? So it's weird that she tried to kill herself and they let them get away with that. Because again, even if you say that matter exists in both places at the same time, that then still causes a split. It still causes a paradox. Same kind of thing. Now, why did Thor take his hammer from the past and bring it to the present to use and give to Cap, who's now worthy, to fight? Well, don't forget there was a scene in the previous films where everybody tried to lift the hammer and they were not worthy. Why was Cap now suddenly worthy where he wasn't worthy before? That's a question. But some of you may not understand or question, why did Thor take back his hammer? Well, check this out. This is very interesting. He took the hammer from the past to bring it to the present to use it. Then he gave it to Captain America, who went through the time portal at the end of the movie to return it back to Thor to the day that it was gone. So Thor never lost his hammer in the past. You understand? They created like a time carve-out hole, like a little bubble of water or whatever to breathe in. Like, you know what I'm saying? A bubble in the water to breathe through. Like a little encapsulation. So again, Thor went to the past, okay, took his hammer, he leapt, bring it to the present, used the hammer with Captain America to defeat Thanos. Say that 4 times fast. To defeat Thanos, gave the hammer to Thor. Thor gave the hammer back to Captain America, who went back in time to return the hammer to the past the moment that it was taken, like a moment later. So Thor still got his hammer. That's why Cap left with it to go back at that point. A huge error, an actual error. Spider-Man goes back to high school? How? Remember the Hawaiian kid that he meets there in high school? How did that happen? Because he says, hey, Mr. Stark, I woke up, I blacked out, and I woke up, and Dr. Strange said I had, passed out, and it's 5 years into the future. So I'm back. So basically, everybody who reemerged is the same age, but 5 years still passed. So it's weird that they would show him suddenly appear back in high school. Because what did they all fail 5 years of high school, and his friend who he ran into there, the Hawaiian kid, like they all just like screwed up or something? What happened? So that's why I'm asking you guys, is that a massive error? Or are they going to say that many of the people, including his friend and everybody, vanished with the Infinity Stones from Thanos, and they all reemerged 5 years later the same age, so they put them all back in high school? That might be a way to explain why they're going to high school. Because if they were about 15 years old in high school, 5 years from there would make them 20. So what are 20-year-olds doing in high school, right? Or the people who did survive, they would have graduated. So did everybody get wiped out by the Infinity Stone and then they all got put back in high school? That's either a massive error, which I think it is, or they're going to write it that way. Also, and this is a very important one too, they use a lot of pseudoscience out of convenience to explain stuff with quantum physics. But okay, I'll go with it. It's comic book science, but that's cool. I don't mind that too much. It's a little bit convenient, if you will, a little bit of a cop-out. But that's fine. You know what I'm saying? It's good. I mean, Ant-Man was a very pivotal part of going into stuff, and they hit, quantum levels of science that are so far out of our reach of understanding, we can't really argue with it too much. Okay, so, all right, I'll let them have that. But, and this is a big one, with Captain America, again, think about the ramifications of what he did, being selfish, actually, to go back in time. It's cool that he was with Peggy Carter, that's not bad, that's pretty cool. But, again, it's selfish, and it makes two Caps living at the same time. So as Cap, from the present, went back to the past and grew old through time, frozen him got unfrozen, and there's two Caps there, the old one and the unfrozen one. Now, how could he have pulled that off? Well, if he decided, if Cap decided to change his name and his identity and secretly stay in the past with Peggy, maybe he could have pulled that off. Sorry, I have like bronchitis. But that's a crazy kind of scenario that he pulled off. And again, it'd be cool if they made it like he was her husband with the kids that she was telling him about when she was in the previous movies when she was an old woman in the hospital. But again, in the show, I believe that there was a different husband and kids and stuff like that. So he kind of literally split off the timeline. Again, another cause of a paradox. So it's kind of just an interesting thing to see what an ambitious, project this was. It's a huge, amazing movie, and excellent film. But again, I do have a lot of problems that I just delineated and outlined here. So I want your opinion. Did I make a mistake? Did I miss something? Please post your comments below and make sure to subscribe and tell your friends about the channel. If I could try to break 10,000 subscribers, I could use the YouTube studios in New York City, which would be really, really fun. So help me do that. I'm pretty close. I'm nearing the 7,000 subscription point. I have a total of over 3 million views to all my videos, which is really cool. So thank you guys so much for that. Let's try to break this together and get into the YouTube studios, and that could be kind of fun. For those of you who are wondering, I'm wearing the prototype version of my jacket over here, which I later turned into Codename Justice, my superhero character there. And this is Ravidactyl over here, my other superhero character. And if you get a chance, please make sure to follow and subscribe and check out my new comic book, which I'll show you right now. It's called Gekido. This is the masked edition with gloss cover. It's available at beyondcomics.tv. Please check it out. You can actually potentially win a chance to be drawn as a character in my next comic book. So you can see it here. Let me just zoom in. That's Gekido, issue number 1 from beyondcomics.tv, co-created by writer Brandon Wilson and me, the artist Graig Weich. And here is my action figure that just came out. Very excited. The manufacturer sold out to all the retailers, which is awesome worldwide. How freaking cool is that? I'm so excited. But here you go. Seamless synthetic skin with full articulation, fully posable. Has a full metal actual skeleton built inside with a spine. It's completely posable. The suit is flexible and removable, as you can see. So very excited that we were able to pull off this technology together with Fison and TB League Toys. Here you go. And Adrian Curry, winner of America's Next Top Model, actually starred in the comic book as Tricity, my new superheroine action figure. So guys, please make sure to subscribe and follow. Make sure to go to beyondcomics.tv for more information. And as they say in comics, to be continued. Peace.